is EWA Radio, the podcast of the Education Writers Association. I'm Public Editor and your host, Kavitha Cardoza. Usually on an episode, we chat with education reporters. Not today. Today, I'm thrilled to introduce you to Kathy Chow, the new Executive Director of EWA. She takes over from Caroline Henry, who was at the helm for 12 years. Kathy will be responsible for an organization which represents nearly 2,000 members, and she'll begin on April 3rd. Okay, that's as much as I know, so I'm looking forward to learning more. Kathy, welcome to EWA Radio. I know you're on flood watch, so thank you for making the time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This feels a little bit odd. I'm interviewing my new boss. So I'd like to start by asking you a little bit about your background, where you grew up and your education, and a little bit about where you've worked.
Sure. So I come from an immigrant family. I was personally born in Hong Kong, but came to the United States when I was 6 months old. My family primarily has been in California most of my life, but we had a very short stint in Texas, and then we came back to California. I went to the University of Pacific, where I got a Bachelor's of Arts in English and pre-law. I was originally planning on going to law school, but I decided to take a year before I made that commitment. And during that year, I really got into working with nonprofits. And that's kind of how my career started, working in nonprofits and specifically working with nonprofits that serve immigrant communities, underrepresented communities around a number of different social services.
You have a lot of experience managing nonprofits. What are you most proud of?
Oh, gosh. When I was updating my resume for EWA, I looked at the breadth of my career, and, I think I'm most proud of is the projects where I've been able to provide impact for the missing voices, the marginalized, to really create policy and change, to mobilize communities. I think, there's been a number of different projects I've worked on throughout my life, but the ones that I can have true impact is really what I'm most proud of.
You were also executive director of the Asian American Journalists Association, AAJA, that many of our members are also a part of, for 8 years.
Yes. So I came to AAJA. I was actually recruited by an AAJA member who worked at the Sacramento Bee. At the time, I was working with Hands on Sacramento, the volunteer action center here in Sacramento. And he came to me and said, listen, I know you love working with media and you love telling stories, and AAJ is looking for a new executive director. So I went to the association, and probably during one of the toughest times in the media industry, I believe it was 2008, and more than 50,000 jobs were lost during kind of a national shrink of newsrooms. And we went from a membership that during its best times was about 2,000. And when I came on, the membership had dwindled down to 800. And so there was a lot of fear, stress, anxiety about what does this mean for journalists and the skills, and specifically for minority journalists in shrinking newsrooms. And so I spent the 8 years rebuilding the membership. When I left, AJ had a membership close to about 1,700. And really, we rebuilt our programs. We strengthened our base. We did a rebrand in the midst of my term there. And it was really from working with the members, my officers, the board, and all of the media partners and stakeholders. We were able to really do some innovative work. Some included with the National Gay Lesbian Journalists Association, NLGJA, a project in Nebraska called the Heartland Project, and then also another project with IRE, teaching underserved journalists within the state of New Mexico great investigative reporting skills. We also looked across the work that we did to say that it's not enough just to support the journalists, but it's also important to create the ties within the community, specifically within the API community. And so we looked at training folks who were in leadership positions to work better with media so that when national networks were looking for guest speakers, that they would turn to our community to seek those sources. So I think it deepened my love for storytelling and really made me proud of the work that we did. The one comment that always stood out to me was from the NLGJA president at the time. We were in the state of Nebraska meeting with the Lincoln Journal-Star. And after the meeting, she came up to me and she said, I just never knew that a journalism association could be more than just a journalism association. And to me, that has been one of the best compliments of my life, because I really can see a bigger view and picture for the amazing work that journalists can do in not just the storytelling, but the bridging and the connecting of the industry. And especially here at EWA, I'm excited. I'm excited for the work that I will be able to do with the members, our stakeholders, our staff, our board, to reimagine more of what we can do as an association.
Kathy, before I ask you for some of your ideas about the organization, I wanted to ask you, you haven't worked as an education journalist. What attracted you to this position where you are going to be representing education journalists?
Sure. Part of my background is I used to work for the Sacramento Bee. I was a public affairs representative for the organization for a number of years and really had the pleasure of working with journalists and understanding their challenges, understanding their passion and their desire. And after AAJ, I took a break from the journalism world, but in that time, I had a number of journalists, colleagues reach out to me about different jobs that would bring me back into this world. And it just never was the right timing. And when this position with EWA came about, I had two colleagues reach out to me again to say, Kathy, I think you really need to consider this, knowing that as I said to the board of directors, I like to see myself as being a nerd at heart. I love to consume information. If I hit the lotto, I would probably go back to school and just get a number of different degrees. Education is very dear and near to my heart. And I think having the opportunity to help make a bigger impact with the work that EWA does, I think was something that aligned with my personal passions. And it also was really the right timing for this next chapter in my career to take all the skills that I have had in my career to really have a larger social impact in the industry of journalism, but also in education, building bridges, connecting communities. That's really what attracted me and what I'm excited about.
Are there any differences that members will see right away? One of the things you had talked a little bit about it earlier, and I hope you implement it here as well, where we really lift up and empower education journalists to tell the story of education ourselves. It always infuriates me when there's something going on and it's a non-education reporter talking about deep education topics. And now with the presidential elections coming up, I feel, oh my gosh, education is such a huge issue every election. And I always see only political reporters talk about it. So I would love that. But what other changes might our members see?
Well, I there's 2 points I like to make on that comment. One, I totally agree with you. I think that I'm always about strengthening a brand or doing a fresh reset about the EW story for those we work with and those who don't know who we are. And I think that there is a lot of opportunity to go back into large, small newsrooms across America to tell the EWA story again and say, when you do this political story, why are you not leaning on your education journalists for a collaboration or a lead in this story? And so I really want to think about that in how we can develop that. I think my first 30, 60, 90 days is really about a listening tour to strengthen the membership value. What is the value for our members? What has been a missing opportunity? What challenges are they facing that we can bring to support them? No matter where you are in your career, I think that you should be leaning on your association for that support. Whether you need a mentor, whether you need to figure out, how to get to that next level in your career, that's what your association is here for. So I think that there's a lot of different opportunities, and I'm excited to figure what those will be from working with the staff, the board, and listening to the membership.
Kathy, what do you do outside work?
Oh, right now, my number one priority is sleep. I am not a good sleeper. so so I would say, I'm not someone who has a lot of hobbies, but I love to cook and I love to bake. And I said to the board, I have been known to bake my specialty breads for board meetings. I make an amazing eggnog bread during the holiday, and I make 8 different types of banana bread. So I know that doesn't sound fun for some people, but it's very relaxing for me when I'm very methodical about baking or cooking.
Well, I don't like baking, Kathy, but I love eating, and so do the rest of the EWA staff. So feel free to bake all 8 types of banana bread anytime you want. Well, you start April 3rd, and members can meet you in person in June. This is a plug, of course, for National Seminar, which is happening in Atlanta from the 2nd through the 4th of June. Kathy, we're super excited to welcome you on board. And You will see how fiercely protective and proud we are of EWA, and we're really excited that you're going to be leading it.
I'm very excited too, and I can't wait.
Well, that wraps up this episode of EWA Radio. I'm Kavitha Cardoza. Do you want to introduce yourself to Kathy or welcome her? Or if you have any questions, Kathy's handle is at Kathy Chow, CHOW 888. The numerals 888. At Kathy Chow 888. Let's continue the conversation on Twitter at EdWriters. Special thanks to Angelina Liu and Kristan Obang from EWA and Raul Garcia for production assistance. The mission of the Education Writers Association is to strengthen the community of education journalists and improve the quality of education coverage. For more than 75 years, EWA has helped reporters get the story right. Thanks for listening and lifting up education journalism.